Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
We're under attack. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf, and it's going to be a very interesting day. So, here we go. Alex Jones. We got the Alex Jones text. Yes, we have some, and wow, it's a disaster. It's more of a disaster than I think anybody really, at least I guess I can only speak for myself. It's worse than I expected. I know I expected bad, but it's worse. Oh, it's worse. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. We also have other things. We've got AOC, of course, ripping into Marjorie Greene. And, of course, Marjorie Greene responding. Oh, fun. So we've got that fight, and then we also have an update on a Biden FCC pick. I know it doesn't sound like it's like a super sexy story, but trust me, it involves a dominatrix. I'm not kidding. So yes, we are going to talk about homophobic attacks, as well as a little bit of
Sexual anarchy.
So yeah, we've got that, but mainly it's Republicans that are Republicaning with that's not even a word, and they're being backed by telecom companies to sink an incredibly excellent pick for the FCC, and so we'll get into those horrible attacks. So anyway, yeah, like I said, it's gonna be a fun day.
This election is about the people.
It absolutely is. Absolutely is.
Oh yeah.
With that, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. No Santos today. I didn't have time. The Alex Jones story is probably going to take up a lot of time. There is a lot of ground to cover in that story, and so yeah, I do not have time for the secret George Santos tapes, which again I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to a bunch of other stuff, but like I said, we only got what we got. So yeah, we'll figure it out. But trust me, you'll enjoy what we have.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Let's go. All right. Start out with Trump. Trump versus DeSantis. Another fun story. Former President Donald Trump continues to take swings at possible 2024 rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, while Trump's been, of course, attacking everyone, Nikki Haley, etc., he's been extra focused on DeSantis. In fact, in a recent interview, Donald Trump did what, he tries to do what he's been good at doing for quite some time, and that is trying to unman his opponent. I guess in the case of Nikki Haley, you really can't do that. But in the case of Ron DeSantis, he does. And here's how he tries.
Ron DeSantis got elected because of me. You remember he had nothing. He was dead. He was leaving the race. He came over and he begged me for an endorsement. He was getting ready to drop out. He said, if you endorse me, I'll win. And there were tears coming down from his eyes. He said, if you endorse me, I'll win. So I end up doing it, and he wins.
Tears coming down. He was crying for that endorsement. Do I think that really happened? No. Do I want it? Do I wish it would have happened? Yes, I do. Only so that I can, play these.
Beta male.
Okay, anyway. Look, not that the truth is any less pathetic, but it's just not as dramatic. And I'll show you an example of it, by the way. You remember Ron DeSantis really did kiss Trump's ass when he was running his first campaign for governor of Florida. So that was actually an incredibly close race, both in the primary, where his opponent was actually ahead of DeSantis, and then, of course, during his race against the Democrat Andrew Gillum, he barely pulled that one out. All right. So now that's different than what happened in the most recent gubernatorial election in Florida, where he actually blew out Charlie Crist by like 20 points. So, but those first races, that was rough. That was rough for him. Now, that said, he did ask for, that endorsement. He tried very hard to get it. The Trump endorsement at the time was very, very coveted by the right wing. And once he got it, oh man, did he kiss ass. If you can remember, back in July of 2018, the DeSantis campaign released this ad.
Everyone knows my husband, Ron DeSantis, is endorsed by President Trump, but he's also an amazing dad. Ron loves playing with the kids.
Build the wall.
He reads stories.
Then Mr. Trump said, "You're fired." I love that part.
He's teaching Madison to talk.
Make America great again.
People say Ron's all Trump, but he is so much more.
Big league. So good.
I just thought you should know.
Ron DeSantis for governor.
Beta male.
Oh, that's the cringiest ad I've ever seen. Maybe not ever seen, but holy crap. And look, as cringe as that is, that might also be bordering on child abuse, because those poor kids. Seriously. Okay, so, like I said, at the time, hey, begging for a Trump endorsement actually did help. He won, after all. But lately, though, not so much. It hadn't actually worked out very well for people endorsed by Donald Trump in the midterms, for example. You only have to look at the track record, like Doug Mastriano, Carrie Lake, Herschel Walker. Yes, that Herschel Walker, who said
this election is about the people.
Can barely put together a coherent sentence. And then, famously, Dr. Oz. Doctor who? Exactly. So, look, the Trump endorsement didn't work out for any of those losers, because they're losers. However, Ron DeSantis, who I do not believe endorsed or was endorsed by Trump in this last election, he won. And so, look, DeSantis and the rest of the Republicans, especially the Republican establishment, well, they know that Trump's endorsement doesn't go very far anymore. That's why they're not kissing his ass. Save, of course, for, well, Lindsey Graham. Because, of course.
Beta male.
Yeah. That said, they're not attacking Trump either. And so this is interesting. So Trump's coming out and he's swinging for the fences. Especially at DeSantis. DeSantis is like, I don't really want to attack, because if I try to punch him back, then that's going to make the chuds mad and they're going to come after me. I'll just let him, keep letting him, whatever, right? You just do your thing. I'm just not going to say anything, right? In fact, look, Trump is throwing just bombs at DeSantis, recently calling him a, quote, rhino globalist. Yeah. Now, DeSantis responds with, quote, oh, man, I roll out of bed and I have people attacking me from all angles. It's been happening for many, many years. And that's all he had to say. And this was when he was specifically asked about Trump. So he is going out of his way to avoid criticizing Donald Trump while Trump is just, again, lobbing some of the most vicious attacks at him. It's, again, pretty clear that he does not want to engage. Now, that lack of engagement, of course, is going to further enrage Donald Trump. It's not like he's going to stop attacking. He's going to keep attacking further and further and further. And he's going to go more and more vicious each time that, again, DeSantis fails to engage. And the reason Donald Trump does that, by the way, is, again, he's a bully. He's not very smart. But also, he's best when he's trading insults with people. Whereas DeSantis is best at using the power of the state to crush trans people. He's doing it a la assault in Florida against marginalized people. That's why the right wing loves him, by the way. Yes, he's going after all the people that right wingers in the state despise. That's his greatest asset at this point, is the fact that he is so incredibly cruel and evil. But at some point, he will be asked to respond. And I don't know how that's going to turn out. I don't know what he's going to do. If he's going to just point at his record in Florida. I mean, if you're politically smart, you would point at that and just ignore the things that Trump is saying about you and just be like, hey, look, at the debate stage, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But point and say, oh, well, I did this in Florida. I did that. Look how terrible, I treated trans people. Look, I even made, high school girls show us their menstrual data. I mean, extremely misogynistic. You guys love that. That's why I should be president. That's the kind of horrible stuff he's doing in his state. Now, that's going to play really, really well with the Republican base. Then again, he does not have the charisma of Donald Trump. So it is a very interesting fight that's shaping up. And of course, I'm going to sit back. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to the primaries. I'm looking forward to all this Republican infighting. Like I always say, let them fight. Let them fight. All right. Moving on to another fight. On Thursday, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gave a fiery speech on the House floor, attacking Republicans for voting to remove Ilhan Omar from her committee assignments. This is from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. I'm going to show you that speech, some of that, and we'll discuss.
I think one of the things that we should talk about here is also one of the disgusting legacies after 9/11 has been the targeting and racism against Muslim Americans throughout the United States of America. And this is an extension of that legacy. Consistency, there is nothing consistent with the Republican Party's continued attack except for the racism and incitement of violence against women of color in this body. I had a member of the Republican caucus threaten my life, and you all and the Republican caucus rewarded him with one of the most prestigious committee assignments in this Congress. Don't tell me this is about consistency. Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes and also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
Damn. Hell of a speech. That's a mic drop. I love it. Look, again, she points out correctly the hypocrisy, right? The hypocrisy of Republicans supposedly being concerned about anti-Semitism, which is funny because I pointed out a lot of the instances where the Republican Party very anti-Semitic. Again, members of the Republican Party using old anti-Semitic tropes, and so it's just pretty ridiculous. And look, Donald Trump, who was the Republican president, had hosted Kanye West and Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, white nationalist, very anti-Semitic. Kanye West, if you remember, he was on InfoWars. Alex Jones was like, "Oh no, you understand? I love Hitler." That's what he says. That's what he said. So yes, and by the way, Marjorie Greene, who was the one who was talking about, of course, the Jewish space lasers or
Jewish space lasers.
Well, she went to Nick Fuentes' white nationalist conference and was a speaker there. So yeah. And so look, here's the thing, right? You have all these anti-Semitic conspiracy theories floated by right-wing figures. And by the way, one of the biggest ones is, of course, one of the biggest targets, I should say, of the right wing is George Soros. Oh, George Soros is the puppet master of the Democratic Party. That's what's going. You know how they are. Yeah, the big money. Those people. No, please tell me about those people. Tell me about the globalists, please. Who are the globalists? Give me some names. Yeah. Again, they spread anti-Semitic tropes on like a daily basis. Now, by the way, you could say, but Jeff, you don't understand. They support Israel. First of all, Israel's a right-wing government, so of course they're going to be in favor of that. Who is right now crushing Muslims, Palestinians. And by the way, their main support is not because they care about the plight of the Jews. No, it's based on the end times. They have this end times fantasy. And in that fantasy, by the way, all but a few thousand Jewish people die. So, I mean, but it must be Ilhan Omar that is anti-Semitic, because she does call out the right-wing government of Israel for doing things like, I don't know, breaking international law, building illegal settlements, turning Gaza into an open-air prison. There's that whole thing. But we know what it's about. We know. The right wing despises Muslims, despises progressives. Simple as that. That's Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, by the way, and this is what irritates me about, corporate Democrats, is they also criticize Ilhan Omar because she's progressive. Like I said, though, strong speech by AOC. Loved it. Absolutely. That said, Marjorie Greene could not let that go unanswered. In fact, she comes out and responds in the most childish way. She goes to Twitter and writes, AOC, I have repeatedly asked you to debate me, but you have been a coward and can't even respond. But you go on CNN and lie about me. And she, by the way, did go on CNN and addresses the fact that Marjorie Greene has been put on committees despite, again, promoting violence against elected officials, elected Democrats, talking about how the Rothschilds at one point, had been financing, again, space lasers that are going to, that were designed to start forest fires. I know it's bizarre. All these different conspiracy theories that she claims that she disavows now, and called her out on CNN. So she's very salty about that. Marjorie Greene continues by saying, when are you going to be an adult and actually debate me on policy instead of run your mouth like a teenage girl? Does she have any sort of self-awareness? Like, at all? I don't think she does. At all. Oh, okay. So anyway, now look, I love the debate bro arc because for one, if you want to have a policy debate, it might help if you actually knew a thing or two about policy. But she does not. And let me give you an example. So now, Marjorie Greene had, again, for being on a committee, she decided to question comptroller Mr. Dodaro, right? Gene Dodaro. And, well, in that questioning, she gets a lot of the facts wrong. Take a look.
Dodaro, can you tell me how much COVID cash went to CRT?
CRT?
Critical race theory in education. It's a racist curriculum used to teach children that somehow their white skin is not equal to black skin and other things in education.
Yeah. No, I do not know that, but I do know that there's provisions that the federal funds generally are not used, are supposed to be used for curriculum.
Oh.
That's a state.
Oh, Mr. Dodaro, I have to tell you, in Illinois, they received $5.1 billion at an elementary school there that used it for equity and diversity.
Total embarrassment. Oh my God. So again, she claimed that one elementary school got $5.1 billion to teach critical race theory. How much diversity did the one school can one school actually do? Seriously. But look, that is just incredibly, hilariously outside the bounds of reason. Non-factual. Now, let me give you the real facts of what happened, right? The state of Illinois itself got $5.1 billion from COVID relief. So now it was split for schools around, I should say, split among the school districts, 850 of them, right? Now that money went for a lot of different things, not just equity and diversity. And by the way, none of it went to critical race theory because critical race theory isn't taught in K through 12. It's not being taught in elementary school. It's a college level course. No, you're not going to teach it to kids. You're not going to teach it to first graders. And by the way, also, it's not like, oh, did you know that critical race theory teaches white people that their skin makes them bad? No, that's not what critical race theory is. It's actually a lens to look at systemic racism. It's not calling individuals racist. And by the way, it is also a starting point for people to debate how there could be systemic racism in, things like, for example, real estate when it came to redlining. Or when it came to banking, loans, things like that, okay? And when it comes to access to education, to a quality education, when it comes to, funding schools properly, especially inner city schools versus those in higher income areas. I mean, come on. It is a debate over how these impacted people of color. It doesn't have anything to do with racism. But again, the people that focused on CRT the most have no understanding of what it actually is. In fact, one part of the plan did, though, mention the goal of digital equity. Oh no, it says equity in it.
Can't let that happen.
But what does it mean? It means helping poor people who did not have computers or internet access during the time where a lot of schools went to remote learning. You know, to try to prevent people, children from falling behind because they didn't have access to that same technology. So this funding actually went to that, to get them access to the internet, to get them computers or iPads or something they could learn from so they don't fall behind in school. That's it. That's all it was about. But again, apparently that is critical race theory, and that is somehow bad. Well, I think we know why they think it's bad.
The Republican Party's racist.
But look, AOC responded back, by the way, saying, quote, "Hey there, in case you forgot, we sit on the same committee, which debated for the first time this week. I don't blame you if you forgot. You spent almost no time there." It's true. You know, the funniest thing about Marjorie Greene is, it's not the fact that she's incredibly dumb. I mean, yes, she's dumb. But even though she's already wrong, or pretty much almost always wrong, I should say, she carries herself with a complete unearned confidence. She is so matter of fact and confident when she says the most dumb, stupid, ridiculous things. It is truly a sight to behold. It is amazing that someone who is that unknowledgeable about anything, everything, can carry themselves with such confidence and actually make these arguments with a straight face. Wow. The clown does not realize she is a clown. And I think that was just important for you to mention. Okay. Let's go to Alice Jones' text. Oh boy. So, you know what? You better strap in for this one. It's going to get weird.
No. Sexual anarchy.
Do we have to? Yes, we do, or else we don't have any other source.
Testicles. Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Okay. It's enough of that. Enough of that. Private text messages belonging to Alex Jones have been published by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And they reveal quite a bit. Look, I guess to summarize before we get into some of the actual texts, it shows a man who is depressed, has some serious substance abuse issues, and is a generally miserable person. Which is kind of what we expect based on what we've seen from Alex Jones and the kind of trash and negativity he puts into the world. So now, first, let me address how the Southern Poverty Law Center got the texts. Well, first, it's from his own attorney. Back during the Sandy Hook lawsuit, his lawyer had accidentally sent the complete contents of his phone to the opposing attorney. That was Mark Bankston. Yeah. Now, look, the content of these messages, disturbing, to say the least. And I could understand some people not being comfortable with sharing these messages. Luckily, I am not one of those people. I will share them. Because it's not because I have disagreements on policy about, or things that Alex Jones believes on policy, right? It's because of the harm he's done. He he has caused pain and suffering to numerous amounts of people, especially the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre. The families lost their children. He mocked them, lied about them, smeared them, called them crisis actors, and encouraged his followers to to stalk them, to harass them endlessly. People have gone to jail for it. One of the families had to move like 7 times to get away from these unhinged followers. And by the way, aside from that, he made a ton of money from it, selling supplements, boner pills, a Brain Force Plus, Cock Force Plus, to prepper gear, to right wingers, to his followers. Made hundreds of millions of dollars, profiting off tragedy, death, and mockery. And so, look, apparently, though, from these texts, the stuff that he put out in the world was mainly done so not just for money, but I think to make other people as miserable as he seems to be. So let's get into it. The Southern Poverty Law Center describes Jones as extremely isolated and depressed, interacting with very few people outside of his company. Nearly everyone with whom he corresponds, outside of a few people in his family, connects with Jones through the relationship to Infowars, either as an employee or as another pro-Trump influencer. Now, one of the family members he does message is his father, David Jones. I want to actually read one of the exchanges here. This is following the judgment from Sandy Hook. So this was on about 3 p.m. He said, "It's no big deal. I get a notice via media, so I just need to start shutting down. I always get my legal news a few weeks late via news. Well, I just need to love it." Okay. By the way, his father didn't respond to it. A few hours later, sends more messages. "I don't blame you. I'm just freaked out. We're crazy mixed up. I is very scary." Again, there's a lot of typos here. And it could be related to the copious amounts of vodka, which feature prominently throughout these texts, that he apparently consumes on a regular basis. And says, "I is very scary to almost never to learn about stuff from yourselves." I don't know what that means. He's probably blasted. If very concerning, I assume he means it was very concerning. Nothing can stop it. It seems it's like gravity, a black hole. Okay. He then also received afterwards no response. Okay. Now, that idea of being in a black hole, right? And also he mentions in the text that he's in hell. It comes up a few times. Not a happy person. So, in fact, Josh Owens, who worked as a video editor for Infowars back in 2013 to 2017, detailed back in 2019 in a feature published in the New York Times that Jones would regularly express despair and would confess to not wanting to run his company anymore in phone conversations with him. Interesting. Now, Owens told Hate Watch for this investigation in January that Jones sometimes even used the exact phrase, quote, "black hole," to describe his life in private conversations. So this is not a happy person. Now, you might be tempted to feel bad for him. Don't. Look, I got to tell you, I know a lot of people have empathy. This is not someone you want to waste empathy on. Trust me. It gets worse. So he's got some relationship issues, right? With his third wife. And it's toxic, it's weird, and there's a lot of, again, I think personal hangups on the part of Alex Jones. So why don't we get into a little bit of that? Text messages on Friday, May 8th. That was back in 2020. He had been texting his wife, Erica Wolf, and said this, quote, "You hate as us. I see it in your eyes. You won't even talk to me. Pick up the phone now. You won't even break away for 1 minute just to talk to me. Sick. Hope you enjoy it. You hate us. You care less. So sick." Messages like that happen for over an hour. Sometimes the messages between them would end up with her not responding and then her phone putting one of those automatic away messages like, "I'm away from my phone. Please leave a message." And look, later on, by the way, in the report, they talk about how she basically wants a divorce. She wants to get out of here. Okay. So now, part of the reason that they have so much friction is that he is paranoid. And not just normal, like Alex Jones delusional paranoid, but even more so. To the point where he believed that he was being cheated on, that his wife's cheating on him, and he then had hired a mercenary to follow her around to try to catch her in the act. And by the way, this is at the same time where Jones himself was cheating on his wife. So, I mean, it's just insane. He had hired private investigators to follow her around. Hate Watch found 2 instances where Jones contacts his security employee, former Austin Police Department officer and Blackwater mercenary Tim Enlow, to monitor his wife, even getting geographic location, GPS data. Oh my God. Now, again, he was cheating on her. In fact, Jones would contact Enlow to monitor Erica on days where he was also in touch with a woman. Her identity is being protected, so she's using a pseudonym. But Hate Watch says, "We know the identity. We're refusing to share it. That's good to protect her identity." This person's named Pat Johnson. Now, that's also an alias that he entered into his phone. And so Jones had texted Pat on the morning of May 11th, 2020, basically requesting a sucky. I'm pretty sure you're all aware of what that means. So I'm not going to have to get into details there. Okay. So 2 days after that, on May 13th, 2020, and 5 days after Jones had his wife followed, and by the way, had even showed up at someone else's home to wait outside, Enlow sent a message to Jones that included screenshots from an Optimus 2.0 GPS tracker. Those messages showed her location in real time. And again, that surveillance takes place around the same time Joan was interacting with Pat Johnson. Pat Johnson, of course, being someone who would continuously send him literal white supremacist content, some of the stuff he'd even used on InfoWars. Now, one text exchange basically had him asking her to run him a bath, while at the same time he was asking Enlow about where his wife was and what she was doing. And so overall, cheats on her, has her followed around. It's weird and amazing hypocrisy. Speaking of hypocrisy, there's more. That's a stance in pornography. Okay. Look, you might have seen some of the clips that we've played before or on other shows where he rages, "Oh, pornography is the greatest evil, it's the biggest evil." Well, apparently, according to a former coworker, Owens, Jones would regularly text porn, links to Pornhub all over the office, share them with coworkers. "Oh, hey, check this out." But on his show, he would talk about how evil it was, how it's destroying Western civilization. In fact, on March 25th, 2020, on his show, he claimed that, quote, nefarious actors pushed and legalized pornography. And by the way, those nefarious actors, of course, he referred to are the Jews. And pushed the pornography as part of a plot to, quote, end the family and reproduction and end the enjoyment of sex. You hear me? Sex is going to be gone with the porn. As soon as the camera's off. Hey, check out this porn. Oh, it's kind of hot. On March 5th, 2019, however, he told his audience, I'm not a porn guy. I'm sorry. Once I've been in the real thing and you have a wife and you have children, it's about life. It's about love. It's about laughter. I added that last part. Again, he's saying all this hypocritical stuff while he's, again, sharing porn with his coworkers, looking at it. Again, I don't care if you do it, but I don't care. It normally is not my business, but again, the hypocrisy bothers me. And by the way, you also might all remember that time where he accidentally, shared, I think it's either video or images from his phone when he was looking at transgender porn. I don't think there's anything wrong with consuming porn. I don't think there's anything wrong with consuming transgender porn. You're into what you're into. That's fine. I don't care. Do you. Have fun. But see, again, the thing about Jones is that he puts out so much negativity and hate towards the LGBTQ community, of which he actually might be a part of. Now, on his show, he regularly referred to the LGBTQ community as, quote, the LGBTP community, with the P standing for pedophile. So equating gay, trans, bisexual, all those different groups as pedophiles. And during a March 18th, 2019 episode of InfoWars, he said this, quote, because the truth is, it wasn't about gay marriage. It was always about sex with your children. That's right. It's a satanic ritual. It's going to drain off their energy, drain their innocence, drain their future. The only thing they like better is chopping up your children with a meat cleaver while they rape them. He's saying this stuff. And then behind the scenes, looking at trans porn. So it's a disgusting duality where he's trying to be like, oh, I'm so high and mighty, look at me. I'm defending Western civilization against depravity. Again, what he claims to be depravity. And then is like behind the scenes going, oh yeah, I love this depravity. Oh yeah, give me more of that. Yes.
Sexual anarchy.
I'll take more sexual anarchy. I'll take it all. Look, by the way, he's also, getting back to the fear of his wife cheating, right? I have an idea. I have a theory. Might not be a fear. Because according to the report, videos that he shares, and again, these are in the text messages, they have titles that include, ironically, cuckolding. Which, again, if it's somebody who gets off on someone who watches their wife essentially have sex with another man. Huh. And also other things that he's into is hot slaves and, of course, gangbangs. So, I don't know. It seems to me, and again, this is my theory, right? I have no evidence of this. But I don't know, maybe he's hoping that his wife is cheating, which, again, there's the hired thug mercenary from Blackwater's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't find any evidence that she's cheating on you with another man or anybody. I just haven't found any evidence of that. Maybe he's secretly hoping she is and he could bust in and then watch. He's looking up that porn. He might be into it. And again, I don't have a problem with that. You can be into whatever you're into. I don't really care. I'm just thinking maybe that's part of it. Now, another part of it could be, that he himself is self-loathing. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, other than the other self-loathing stuff, but specifically self-loathing member of the LGBTQ community. What do I mean by that? Well, there's evidence possible, to possibly say that he may be bisexual at least. Interesting. So in the text, in addition to viewing pornographic material involving group sex, his wife would send Joan a picture of a black man's erection in texts. There are no women in those photos. Jones and his wife also have exchanged messages expressing favorable views about bisexuality, which again, no problem. Do you. Or all of you in a group. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And on February 1st, 2020, Erica Wolf Jones texts her husband and says, quote, "You be bi." Again, nothing wrong with that. Have fun. But again, I wouldn't have any problem with any of this stuff. And I don't have a problem with any of that particular stuff. That whatever you're into is whatever you're into. It's just a problem with putting out so much hatred at those very things in the world and being an incredible hypocrite in order to make money. That's the big problem. So, okay. Final thing that I want to talk about is the substance abuse. Another huge problem. Now, Jones, apparently, according to former coworkers, has a problem with drinking on the set during the day. An ex-employee, David, Mr. Drucker, told Hate Watch that Jones would walk around the office carrying a white Dixie cup, and 9 out of 10 times there would be vodka in it. He said Jones would corner him and just feed him shots of vodka. He also said, and vodka comes out a lot, he also said that Jones often started drinking as soon as he would arrive in the office, which might be as early as 9 in the morning, so serious substance abuse issues. He would also tell his employees and even his personal trainer, a man by the name of Patrick Riley, who he works out with, to bring him vodka throughout the day. On February 6th, 2020, he even texted Riley this, quote, "I'm sick. No slay." Now, slay is what they called working out. Okay. Riley responded, "Sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better." Jones then responded to that by saying, "Tell Derek to get me vodka." Isn't that the last thing you need when you're not feeling well? Again, the guy has a huge, huge drinking problem. And everybody around him knows it. And by the way, one of the texts is actually one of his, acquaintances, maybe friend, you could call it, because he doesn't have that many, had said something about it. In fact, this is Russia Today's Max Kaiser. So he's like this Bitcoin guy. And he's like, Alex Jones, you should really invest in my Bitcoin. Well, okay. And I think Alex Jones did. That said, he also told him on March 10th, 2020, to take himself to an AA meeting. Oh, how actually decent of him. He says, quote, "Get to an AA meeting, dude. There are hundreds of them in your area. Trust me. You'll be glad you did." How nice. That's a little bit of humanity, I guess. Like, oh, dude, you're a wreck. You need to go and get some help. Yeah, I would say you need a lot of help. Now, look, Jones had also promised a bunch of different people, including his wife, that I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop drinking. In a conversation with Erica Wolf Jones on August 27, 2019, he referred to booze as demon alcohol. And he said that alcohol is killing us on March 6, 2020. 1 month later, on April 8, 2020, Jones writes, "My folks will be done with us soon if we keep acting like hobos." I'm assuming, of course, he also refers to how he gets when he's drinking. So, look, there's so much more, but I've already shared enough. I feel like to get a to get a real sense of how terrible this lifestyle is. You might think like, oh, money, money will make us happy. Money makes people happy. This dude, up until recently, had a lot of money. Up until the Sandy Hook stuff took $1 billion from him. Thought the money would make you happy. No, this guy is a complete and utter wreck. Money does not make you happy. Now, that said, you do need money to survive. And so, yes, a certain amount of money to make sure that you can handle your bills, get health care, things that you need, to make your life a little bit easier. Yes, that matters. But having millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, that's not going to make you happy if you're a miserable person. In fact, it actually ends up making you, up to a certain point, once you get over a certain point of how much income you have, how much money you have, it doesn't make you happier. It actually makes you worse, more unhappy, because then you're getting into basically fighting with other people that have a little bit more money, and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and all that stuff. And it becomes a gigantic pissing match, and it's just ridiculous. It's stupid. But point of the story here is money not making you happy. Jones is a miserable human being. And again, I think he's taking that misery out on everyone else. Absolutely miserable. The guy's an absolute mess. There's isolation, paranoia, addiction, self-loathing, just a complete and utter mess. But I don't feel bad for him. And again, I urge you all not to feel bad for him, because at the end of the day, he's still a massive piece of shit. The problems that he has, let me tell you what, some people would rather go on the internet and say the most horrendous things about people than go to therapy. And that's Alex Jones. Go to therapy, dude. If I can make him take any piece of advice, go to therapy. Get some help. Get help, man. If anybody needs it, it's this guy. Stop spewing the hatred and the negativity and just saying the most horrible things about people, lying about people because you hate yourself in your life. Stop it. Get some freaking therapy and do better. I know he'll probably never listen to that, but, got to put it out there. Ooh. My dad was a mean drunk, but he didn't turn into a lying Nazi. Oh, it's not the drinking that turned him into a lying Nazi. That's why I say Alex Jones is a piece of shit. All right. One last story for you all. The real default judgment is the friends we made along the way. That's such a good comment. Okay. If I was Alex Jones, I'd hate myself too. All right. Biden administration FCC pick Gigi Sohn has still not been confirmed, despite being renominated by Biden 3 times. The Senate, which is, it's Democrat controlled, has still decided not to take up her nomination. And the more we wait, of course, the more disgusting the attacks against her have become. So now, according to a recent report in the LA Times, the attacks on 61-year-old Sohn, who would be the first LGBTQ member of the FCC, has taken a grotesque and ugly turn. So recently, they've noticed a coordinated campaign of misinformation against her, smears by Fox News, Breitbart, Daily Mail, and they have been accusing Sohn of being a supporter of sex trafficking. Okay, let's get into the details, right? So now they're basically trying to, again, accuse her of being in favor of sex trafficking, perhaps even grooming, by linking her to the Electronic Frontier Foundation. So now the EFF is a nonprofit, and guess what they support? User privacy and freedom of expression online. That's it. So now the association with the EFF has been used against her in some of the worst ways. And it's because the EFF is against FOSTA SESTA. So you guys remember, some of you might remember when I was talking about FOSTA SESTA. That was back in 2018. So Congress passed these laws during this whole like, oh, they're trafficking. We got to do something about the sex trafficking. Yes, we do got to do something about the sex trafficking. Yes, it's a major issue. Except that what they passed doesn't really do anything about sex trafficking. It actually ends up further criminalizing, marginalizing sex workers. As the LA Times explains, the laws were signed in 2018, shortly after the government shutdown of Backpage.com. So now Backpage.com was a website used by sex workers, used to connect and screen clients. So now, at the same time, congressional investigators and law enforcement claimed that this was used by traffickers as well. So they shut that down. They passed these laws, which I think were well-intentioned, but just very poorly designed. And what they did is that they carved out sex-related advertisements as exceptions to the safeguards of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. That renders online platforms immune from liability for user-posted content. So what happened is, after that was passed, a lot of sex workers came out and said, you're shutting down the only safe way that we can ply our trade. This allows us to screen, our clients and allows us to stay as safe as we can with our practice still being unjustly outlawed. So now, one of the sex workers that fought back against that bill and unfortunately lost was Danielle Blunt. Danielle Blunt happens to be a professional dominatrix. Blunt argued that FOSTA SESTA increased the dangers for sex workers by censoring online platforms that they had used to, again, safely screen their clients, forcing them back into the streets where they could be more easily exploited. She said this: working online gave sex workers more autonomy over their labor and reduced the need to work under pimps and exploitative management. Blunt had written that in a report, or co-written that, and it was issued by magazine, I'm sorry, not magazine, but Sex Worker Collective, Hacking / Hustling. Okay, so now you might be wondering, why should we listen to someone who's in the industry, who's part of the sex trade industry? Well, why shouldn't you? She's dominatrix. You have to listen to her. You don't have a choice. She'll step on your face. No, I'm kidding. But look, even if you don't believe her about the drawbacks of FOSTA SESTA, well, we should listen to the Government Accountability Office. They issued a report back in 2021 saying that gathering tips and evidence to investigate and prosecute those who control or use online platforms for trafficking specifically has become more difficult since the enactment of these two laws. Due to the relocation of platforms overseas, platforms use of complex payment systems, and the increased use of social media. So basically, the laws have had the opposite of the intended effect. They have not shut down trafficking at all. They've actually made it harder to go after the real sex traffickers. And of course, while they're doing that, they also put the sex workers at an increased risk. So these laws need a major, major overhaul. So the EFF has been speaking out against these laws and saying they need to be amended, they need to be fixed, they need to make it so that they do not hurt sex workers and actually go after real traffickers. So now, what does Gigi Sohn have to do with any of this? Nothing. She has not spoken on FOSTA SESTA. And as head of the FCC, if she is confirmed, wouldn't have any jurisdiction over it. At all. At all. Never spoken about it. FCC doesn't do anything, doesn't regulate online advertising on it. FOSTA SESTA doesn't apply to communications. They're completely unrelated. So what they have taken, the right wing has, they have taken a homophobic smear accusing her again of supporting sex traffickers, and that includes child trafficking, by the way, and saying, look at this gay person teaming up with a dominatrix to support sex traffickers. What a horrible person. She should not be on the FCC. In fact, on January 26th and January 27th, Fox, Breitbart, and Daily Mail used a nearly identical headline, probably written by, a certain industry, we'll get to that, that says that Stone sits on the board of the EFF and would link her and tried to link her with Blunt, and painting her as an advocate of sex trafficking and grooming. Again, another attempt of painting the LGBTQI plus community as proponents of sex trafficking. It's just not true. It's ridiculous. But again, it's the real reason that the right wing is going after her like that is, and stopping her confirmation, is because not only is she eminently qualified to be in that role, but she is also pro-consumer. In fact, she was the top aide to the former FCC chairman Tom Wheeler during the Obama administration. And most importantly, that was when the agency had started to go in a more pro-consumer direction at her urging. So what does that mean? I mean, she's actually going to try to help people if she becomes FCC chair. Protect privacy. Make sure that, the internet is gets treated as an even playing field for everybody, to restore net neutrality rules. Now, telecommunications companies despise this because they want to control the situation, to make more profit, and to make sure that they are not regulated. They do not want her in charge of the FCC. They do not want the FCC to work, and currently it does not, because you have 2 Trump appointees and 2 Democrats. They're not going to get anything done, and they haven't gotten anything done. So now, previously, I had talked about Stone before in a couple of different segments, and the conservative argument is, well, she hates conservatives. She'll shut down free speech. She hates free speech. Well, actually, she's incredibly fair when it comes to free speech, and actually wants free speech on the internet. And since that attack didn't resonate, didn't work, now they're using the homophobic attacks against her. And what's disturbing here is Democrats are refusing to defend her. They're refusing to come out and actually defend a Biden appointee. She is a Biden pick. She's actually one of the good Biden picks, and he's had a few good picks, by the way, and a few terrible picks. Democrats silent on this. In fact, Chuck Schumer, who could bring her up to a vote, refuses to do so because guess what? Chuck Schumer has links to the telecom industry, meaning that he makes money from, a member of his family, I should say, makes money, personal wealth, from being, I think, on a board of Comcast or AT&T. It's a lot of money on the line for a member of the Schumer family. That's why he doesn't want to bring her up for a vote, hoping that she'll just continue to not be nominated, or to continue, not being confirmed, and eventually will drop off. And then they can pick someone who is far more pro-corporate to take that position, who he will immediately confirm. So now, funny enough, there are conservatives who, actually have defended Stone. And again, contrast that with basically no Democrats that have come out to support her. One of them, the conservatives actually, is Preston Patton. Preston Patton is a former executive at Fox, ABC, and the Walt Disney Company. He says, look, I don't agree with her politics at all, but I think that she's eminently qualified and she should be on that board. In a letter to Maria Cantwell, chair of the Senate Commerce Committee, Patton called the latest smear campaign against Stone beneath scurrilous and the most cynical and baseless smear campaign ever waged against a nominee to serve on the FCC. This is tabloid trash at its worst. And it's all brought to you, I believe, by agents of some of the biggest cable companies and ISPs. It's amazing. Not only that, but I had already previously read you Newsmax commentator Bradley Blakeman's defense of Sohn and her confirmation back in November of 2021, saying that even though he and Sohn have diametrically opposing political views, quote, I trust Gigi to get it right when it comes to protecting my freedom of speech. You even had, at one point, One America President Charles Herring writing on OAN's website in support of Sohn, saying that she believes in the First Amendment and the advantages of a strong and open media for the benefit of our democracy. Now, that did not go well, by the way, with Herring's father, who had that statement literally scrubbed from the website and replaced with this, a statement calling Sohn an enemy of the free press. Look, right-wingers get a right wing. All right, of course. But look, at the end of the day, you have people both on the left and right that actually care about a free and open internet and actually about freedom of speech that want the FCC to uphold fair standards when dealing with both liberal and conservative content online. It's kind of a no-brainer to have a free, fair, and open internet where all pieces of content are treated equally to each other and that no one has an advantage over the other. But again, there are companies out there that will make money by picking winners and losers, picking what content to boost. And generally it's content that will belong to them or services that will belong to them that will make them additional profits. That's what's really the issue here. And so they're going in, they're getting their lackeys, doing all these lobbying, gigs, lavish parties, campaign contributions, that in order to try to prevent someone who will actually challenge the profits of these large telecommunications companies and putting out these massive smears in order to do so. It does show you, how desperate they are to attack her with these homophobic smears. It shows you how desperate they are to try to shut her down. They're afraid. They're massively afraid. And the more afraid the right-wingers are, and by the way, the more afraid and silent that the Democrats are, the corporate Democrats are, the more skittish they are of actually, making sure to confirm her, the more I want to push for her. Okay. So, yeah, that's all I got. That's a massive, massive show. Well, you could also say, at least in the case of the Alex Jones text,
big, massive dumps.
Okay. Anyway. Wow. Okay. We're going to be dealing with traffic scenes and political buzzword situations where it's inappropriate for quite some time, it seems. Oh, yeah. Trafficking, grooming. I mean, yeah, we're going to be... also, what is it? Critical race theory. We're going to be hearing about that forever because they are essentially a one-trick pony. That's all they know. And as I showed you before, you don't even have to know what critical race theory is as a conservative. You just have to know that it's bad. Oh, also, unflushable dumps. Frog Wizard. Really?
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times.
You're going to make me do that.
Can't let that happen.
Okay. Anyway. Green New Dealer Dragon says corporate Dems are enemy number one. Their weakness helped Republican fascists win. Well, we certainly have our enemies out there for sure. Yes, corporate Democrats do enable right-wing fascist Republicans. You're correct on that. Okay. Let's see. Jonathan Leiter, thank you for the one gifted membership on YouTube. Appreciate that. If you want to gift a membership, that'd be super cool. You can do it on YouTube. He also, for the very kind $10, Jonathan Leiter says, Jones' story is well worth giving up some of the Santos saga time. Great week this week. Yeah, I think my medication is starting to kick in, so I had to switch. Adderall shortage. You know how it is. But I'm glad I'm starting to feel back to normal.
Jewish space lasers.
Charge the lasers. Okay. Anyway. Monty Darno, thank you for the very kind $2. It's dangerously cold outside. Stay safe. Yeah, it's freezing. Let's just say that. Very, very, very cold. Oh, what about that climate change? It's cold. Checkmate libs.
Bullshit.
Okay, anyway. Yeah. Oh yeah, AOC was very, very mad. And actually, I'm gonna go and also get the other the clip of Marjorie Greene saying Jewish space lasers, because that's really funny. All right. With that said, Twitch. Let's go to Twitch. I actually forgot to pull that up earlier. Justifiably mad, dealing with McCarthyism 2.0. Yeah, and it's true, though. It's true. Unfortunately, we are. Corrosive Owl, thank you for gifting a Tier 1 community sub. I appreciate that on Twitch. I don't know if I had given credit to Dread to Max, but thank you for gifting a Tier 1 sub a couple of days ago. I just, for some reason, didn't get to it. But I really, really appreciate it. All right. Let's do a Surfs Raid over on Twitch. For everybody else, have a great weekend. Thank you all for watching. Please like and share the stream. Well, remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. Love you all. We'll see you back here on Monday.
To go to space. We're under attack. It is an alien force out of this world. It's not human intelligence.
Pink-haired communist can't let that happen.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.